Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 224 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David. How?
My name is Patrick Nisley.
And my name is Jordan Willis.
And we've got a great show for you guys today. Holy smokes. It's been rough getting it up off the ground. But boy, we're recording. We got an episode for you. We've done it. We're talking all about the Mario Brothers Wonder Direct that came out. And then also, like, shit, does this mean that we're not getting a September Direct that we normally get? It was technically at the end of August. We're going to be talking all about that, kind of what we think that means. But all in all, we're going to be talking about how excited we are for Super Mario Brothers Wonder. There's been lots of hands-on discussion, and we're going to be going over all that here very soon. There's lots of news and rumors also that we'll be going over this week as well. SAG-AFTRA has sought a strike approval for the video game industry. Volition has been shut down. PAX and Nintendo Live have both happened. We're going to be talking all about this and much, much more on today's episode. But before we get into that, how are we doing, gang? How was our past week?
I'll go first. A bit strange, but overall okay. Yeah. So hanging in there, it's just a weird time in the world, especially like now that we're almost 100 days into over 100-degree weather, or 70 days, something like. Anyway, too many days in a row over 100, and my brain is like starting to cook a little bit. So it's just like everything just feels a little wonky.
It beats you down, doesn't it?
Yeah, just over time, dude. Like, yeah.
I just can't.
But today, we're recording this on a Monday. Summer and Kyle came through town, and we got some lunch. David was there, Jay, Emma. And my partner Valerie. I was like, I'm missing one person. Anyway, but yeah, we had a good time. We ate some onigiri and ice cream, and I'm sorry, David. It was fun.
It's okay.
It was fun to just meet up with everybody, and see everyone in person. So, and we did some street passing too. That was pretty cool. I haven't street passed in a while since the Depeche Mode concert a couple months ago, and before that was like 5 years. So anyway,
it was really nice. The rumors are true. I am on a diet. I did not eat any onigiri, unfortunately. But yeah, that was a ton of fun. What else? We also Summer and I played co-op Vampire Survivors in tabletop mode at this establishment. That was fun. Everybody was shocked to see a Switch being played in tabletop mode. I guess that's a very rare thing to see these days. But that was a ton of fun. It's been a pretty chill week for me as well. I'm on this diet now, which means I haven't been drinking or smoking, or I'm on go through nicotine withdrawals right now is basically what's going on. So if I've got a little bit of a manic energy this episode, that's kind of where that's coming from, gang. So just giving you the heads up right off the bat. I do want to say I wasn't on last week's episode, but great job on the Pikmin spoilers episode. I really enjoyed that. Having not beaten Pikmin myself, I listened through to that episode and was like, this is making me want to go back into the game and actually play some of these like Olimar quests and stuff like that. Spoilers, I guess. Oops. But great stuff.
Accidental bonus.
I really enjoyed it, and that was great. So great job on that. Patrick, I know you had a big weekend.
Yeah, well, the lead up last week, just to start there, I had sort of decided to finish up. I crunched and finished up the demo I wanted to take of my game to San Japan. And then I spent the next day or two troubleshooting my physical setup, my laptop, which has never been a great laptop and is not that old, just completely died, which I was planning on using.
Like right before you were going to go out?
Yeah. And so I was a lot of a last minute shuffling around and hustle. I borrowed some equipment from my brother and his girlfriend, which is very nice and generous of them. Yeah, I took my game to San Japan, showed it on the floor, had a table. It was amazing. It demoed really well. I had a really great physical placement in the place, like where my table was.
How so?
Well, so they give away, or this year they did, free tables to indie gaming companies if you're not selling anything, right? They also have paid, you can get a bigger booth if you pay, right? Well, just where they were to begin with wasn't bad, but then because I'm me, I got there, as early as I could. I picked what I thought was one of the best ones, located right by the electricity, because I was kind of concerned about that, because they were like, it's shared electricity. That ended up not being a concern, but I wanted to be like the arbiter of the electricity if it's shared. You know what I mean? Like
I've always thought of you as the arbiter of electricity.
I don't even think that's the right word.
I think it's appropriate.
But you know what I mean? Like, anyway, the second day, so my table was fine the first day and where it was, but the second day, one of the main guys came in and was like, hey, we need to move all this around because there's people who are coming, we need an extra table in here. And it moved it around, and it made my table kind of in a bad spot. And so I was like, well, hey, if we're just shuffling around, can I take that spot? And they was like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Because it's an empty table. And it's basically was like my table, is facing everybody as they walk past. Right. Like
nice.
No other table.
It was like impossible to miss your game, basically.
Yeah, it was impossible to miss the game. There's a giant sign right behind me that says console gaming. And I think I did a pretty good job with the setup. I had like a video on a small Chromebook constantly playing, showing the gameplay. And then the start screens open, which had a big picture of the character. Every kid that walked by is like, I want to play that. So tons of kids played the game.
Cool.
And then, like anybody who likes platformers could see the video just as they walked by. And a lot of people sat down, and people that sat down and started playing it, I would watch them, and be like, do you like platformers? And I'm like, yes. I just feel like I had, and one of the other developers at one of the other tables was like, your table gets the most traffic and your game is demoing the best of a lot of these games. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's
not much more you can ask for.
What was some good feedback that you got? I mean, like, was it like helpful to like suss out like people's like problem areas or anything that you like took away from that?
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of small things, a lot of the same comments being made, some of which I already know about, some of which I would sit with. I think it was confirming for me in a lot of ways, maybe more than like anything else. Just that like the people, the target, it's the target audience likes it generally. There are some people that the biggest complaint is that the character's too slippery, which I think, I can maybe still dial back a little bit, but on some level is kind of the game,
yeah,
that's how it's all designed, but I can mess with it a little bit and think about that. And then also the biggest thing for me was just the kids love it. Not that I'm going to change anything, but I'm definitely going to make sure there's no curse words in it. You know what I mean? I'm going to be like, I'm not going to like the best person who played the game probably ever is a 9-year-old. Like that kid, this one kid sat down, beat the entire demo. He's talked to his parents for a long time because he's 9, and he one-shotted one of the hardest areas in the game. Like he's the fastest person to get it ever. That's kind of an outlier. I think he's a fucking gaming savant, but like, but like, it just is another little thing of like, I got to sit with this kids thing for a minute because like, the character, the style of the game, like a lot of kids came and sat down and played it for a long time.
That's cool, man. Yeah. That's gotta be really satisfying to see just like a lot of that hard work finally paying off and like a young audience gelling with it. That's great. I hate to say it, but man, if you're taking out curse words, that's a no sale for me, dog. You just lost yourself a customer.
I don't think I was planning on having it have curse words anyway. You know what I mean? But I might have had a few, right? Like just for emphasis. And now I'm like, no. And like, it's not like it's pixel art. So it's simple pixel art. So it's not going to be graphic anyway, but I'm definitely like in the violent
taking
scenes,
out the sex
I want it to be,
stuff.
Yeah. I just want it to be more, not get a T rating even maybe, or maybe, but you know what I mean? At most, like, I don't know. I was exhausted. I am exhausted right now. I am not an extrovert. I am an introvert. And like sitting there talking about my game, fielding the same questions, saying the same things over and over for a really long time. Cause the show floor is open till 11. I didn't stay till 11 every day, but like on Saturday I tried to stay as late as I could. But on Sunday afternoon, I was like people were making some of the same, like, it's slippery. And I was just like about to cry. You know what I mean? I'm like, I think I need to close this booth down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Anyway, it was great though, overall.
I think next time we'll just like, all the questions that you typically get, just record your answer. And then there'll be like another little TV and they can just touch their complaint or their question. And then you just have a video of it playing and done deal, dude.
It was great. I think it's just 3 days. Like, honestly, it was the afternoon on Sunday when I was like emotionally like literally I was about to break down over like minor things. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay, I think I've had my fill here. It's like,
how long were the days?
Yeah, so the show, I got there. People start coming in at 10 a.m., but I could get there to set up at 8, which I did the first day, and I showed up a little like significantly later the next 2 days. But I stayed until 6, I think, the first day, until like 7:30 the second day, and then I just bounced out around 3 on Sunday because
that's a lot. That's a lot of talking, man.
Yeah. Well, this is like your first like foray into this, right?
Yeah,
like it's like, people go to like PAX and then they go to fucking good old game, or what's it called? Too many games, or, all these different things like in a row. It's like, what it sounds like is that like One Frog Games, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
It needs like a PR hype guy. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's the next hire.
I also just think it's my baby and it's the first time I've shown it to people who I don't know, at this scale, at least, you know what I mean? Like, where they can immediately be like, they don't like it. You know what I mean? Which is fine. It just, and because most people actually did, and I got most.
Yeah. I feel like, isn't that crazy how the fucking brain works? It's like 90% of people like give you praise, and then it's just like the one little sliver of people that say something bad, and that's like all you hear and the only thing that you care about. Like,
right.
Yeah. Well, it really be like that.
And the person that almost made me cry sat there for like 2 hours. So
yeah, there you go.
And they want to be a beta tester, and they're great, and I like them. I just like, the unfiltered a little bit comments like kind of hit me in that moment. You know what I mean?
Well, it was exhausting. It sounds
exactly. Anyway, that's a lot on that, so we can move on.
Yeah, but we'll timestamp that particular thing.
Oh boy.
Lord. Well, I'm glad you got out there, man. I'm glad that must have been a great experience.
It was.
I'm really happy for you. And I still, we were talking about it today at lunch, and it's like, I can't wait to play the full fucking game, dude.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's gotten so much better even since the last build that you made.
Totally.
Yeah. And you should be very proud of yourself.
It was very motivating on a level too, because there were like that kid, for example, was like his parents, he would have beaten the demo in one day, but his parents made him leave. And then the next day they came back and his parents were like, he was talking about it all night, how he can't wait to play buy Monochrome Heights on Steam and play it. And I was like,
that's awesome,
dude, my heart just grew.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Anyway, we should move on. Cool. Well, I think it's time for our shout outs then, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm emotional just talking about it because I'm still drained. Like,
yeah. I feel you.
Anyway, so shout outs. Last week we did an episode on Pikmin 4. Got some comments to shout out. Over on the YouTube, our friend Matt, Steve Irwin said they tried the demo. It wasn't for them, but love to listen to people nerding out about the game. And then not so much about Pikmin, but a couple other things. Eric, friend of the show, also sent a message specifically to me saying they also are going through returning to an old job and experiencing some of those same emotions, which I actually start tomorrow. So I am also kind of feeling that. So thank you, Eric. That's was really helpful for me and meaningful. So thank you. Over on Instagram, Sprawlix2 said, we need Matt to come back and list the 51 worldwide classics soon. It has been a while. That's true, Sprawlix.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's time for Matt to come back and guest again on the podcast.
I've been thinking the same thing for a while.
Yeah. Get your ass back in here.
And then there was just 1 million people in the Discord commenting. Everybody, thank you so much for the discussion there about like a lot of discussion around Pikmin, but also about the portal and other things we talked about, and people who are going to use that or not use that and various other things. So definitely come, if you want to be shouted out, definitely leave a note somewhere and definitely come join the Discord and be part of the conversation. And then hop on over to our YouTube channel if you aren't watching it there already and watch the video version and hit like and subscribe. And then we'll talk about news. Splatoon 3, the drizzle season, the next season of Splatoon 3 just started. It's already out, happened right around the end of the month, beginning of the month. There are patch notes if you want to go look at them and see the adjustments, because I think they've made not only adjustments, for the new weapons, but some of the existing weapons have had little nerfs and buffs and that kind of thing. I've been so busy, I haven't really played any of the new stuff or checked out any of the new stuff. So
yeah,
I don't really have a lot to talk about here.
I know there was a big run that just happened, which I also missed. I've actually been playing a lot of games this past week. We'll talk about at the end of the show, but that's great. I mean, it's like, the preview is happening and big run is happening and there's a new patch out and it's like the 1 year anniversary. It's kind of like a big Splatoon time right now. I know AVK is very excited and trying to get everybody to play. I'll join you. I promise, AVK, at some point. But yeah, good time to be a Splatoon fan. I'm glad to see the game is still going strong.
We'll move on to the required discussion of Nintendo's next console, or the Switch 2, whatever we want to call this thing, because we don't know exactly what it is, but there's been rumors going around that over at Gamescom, which, is over now, was a big event, happened last month, that behind closed doors, Nintendo was maybe showing the Switch to some industry folks, probably developers, possibly press. I think there was somebody, I forget who said this. It's somebody from a podcast or something, right? Or somebody from Windows Central Manager, I think is what it is.
Yeah, Jez Corden.
Yes, sounds quite possible to me, right? Especially developers, right?
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo had a whole area set up that was like on the floor, but like behind doors, is like to where it's invite only, it's mostly developers, and that's just kind of what was rumored to have been going on in that area, basically.
Yeah. And then sort of related to this, but also separately, is the rumor that Square Enix has actual development kits. And not only that, but some facts about it related to Square, right? Like this next console is, according to this leak, backwards compatible. It has a camera, and that Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be a launch game for it.
Okay, sure. I mean, are we assuming kind of like this one is going to be probably like PS4 level hardware?
That's what I would think. I think
that makes sense.
The leaker said that Final Fantasy VII Remake looks and runs like a PS5 game on the Switch 2 dev kit right now, and that the port took no time to create, that it was like really easy to port the game over.
Cool.
Right now, I think that Final Fantasy VII Remake on PS4 is a very good looking game. I think they got all the juice out of the PS4 on that one, right? And I have like a base PS4. I'm not even running like a PS4 Pro. That game looked amazing as far as I was concerned whenever I played that, right? So I think the PS5 level visuals, I think that's going a little too far. But I think expecting around like Xbox One, PS4 level graphics on a Switch 2 is not out of the realm of possibility. I actually would expect that the power has gotten up to about that point at this time. Some people disagree. Like, we'll talk again a little bit about Hot Girl Video 69, old friend of the show, who has got a rumor later on that we'll be discussing as well. But I know they were like, we haven't heard anything about the Final Fantasy VII thing. Doesn't seem likely from where we're at. People are smoking crack if they think Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to run on the Switch 2, right? So there's still a lot of differing reports on this, right? But some of this stuff like is pretty interesting, and I hope is true. Like, obviously the backwards compatibility thing, they went into a bit of how that works, and then it's basically like a proprietary cartridge format, a la the 3DS to the DS. Right? Like how the 3DS had like a little notch on the cartridges that stopped it from going into a DS, but the DS carts would still fit inside the 3DS. So I think it's probably going to be something like that if there is backwards compatibility. I think that there had been a lot of rumors beforehand about like, oh, well, maybe it'll just be backwards compatible with digital games, right? And I don't think, while that would be fine for me because I pretty much only buy digital games, that would really be fucking over a huge amount of the Switch's user base, right?
Yeah.
Physical sales obviously make up a huge amount of Switch sales. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And the other thing that kind of got me interested in this is a camera, right? Like I kind of always thought that the Switch should have a camera, right?
Yeah.
Like, ever since the DSi had a camera, the Wii U had a camera, the 3DS obviously has a camera and microphones. I think like that really opens up a whole world of possibility for better, like just things that you can do within game, just as far as like voice chat and whatever, and also just kind of like socializing through the Switch, right? Like it's fine going on Discord while I'm playing a game, but I would much rather just do all that shit straight through my Switch. The Steam Deck, that's one of the things that the Steam Deck does really, really, really well is like online play. It's all just integrated through Steam Chat. And that's something I would really love to see happen. But I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about any of these rumors.
Yeah, I would love to bring the camera back. I can't wait to see people recording videos on their Switch too, like they do with the 3DS, because you can't do it with the Switch right now. No, I don't know. That's always really funny to watch too. Like people who are nostalgic for that like shitty 3D video. But the camera would be cool. Yeah, just all social integration like any other console, being able to have like a group chat on the Switch would be great. The other thing I was curious about is like, I had read rumors about maybe AR being the future for them, augmented reality, which they've already dipped their toes into, especially with the 3DS. They had like the little cards that had like the little figures or whatever. And then they had a couple games on the camera. So I'd love to see that and finally get a Game Boy camera on the NSO. That would be sick. I'm like on a Game Boy camera kick, and
if you're gonna get Game Boy camera, then you're also gonna need to make a Switch printer, and then we got a whole. Actually, I guess there is one already. There's like compatibility with that. Like Pokemon Snap used that like Polaroid Instax thing or whatever, right?
Oh, so, yeah.
Anyway,
it sounds pretty cool. Just add it to the list of rumors. I don't know.
Yeah. We're definitely getting to the point though where we're going to be hearing more like actual hard like details about this, and I'm hoping that this is kind of the start of it because all this sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. Up next is Volition, which is under Embracer Group, and I think we've talked about Embracer, reaching for the stars and then having to close some studios and fire some folks recently, and apparently Volition is going to be shut down. Is that correct? Can somebody, they posted like a thing online about it, and then can somebody explain what games or what Volition has been up to?
Volition most recently was known as being the developers of the Saints Row franchise. They did the much maligned like reboot of Saints Row that came out recently. That's actually a PlayStation Plus game right now for this month. But, they did the whole Saints Row series. But then in addition to that, they also worked on like Free Space back in the day. And they actually were the developers of like Descent, like the Descent games, which I didn't realize actually until they made this announcement. And I love the Descent games, And so they're like a 30-year-old studio, right? It's kind of a legacy studio that's been making games for forever. That unfortunately is one of the casualties in this, Embracer like Saudi deal that like fell through basically, where they lost about $2 billion after they gobbled up all these development houses. And, they put out a really sad tweet, which then don't check the replies because it's just a bunch of fucking Gamergaters being like, well, this is what you get for making Saints Row woke or whatever, and it's like, it's not that, dude. It's Mohammed bin Salman, dude. Like it's Embracer Group's hubris really is what it was that closed Volition Studios, right? So I think it's a really sad thing to see. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this with a lot of the Embracer owned studios really shortly, which is really awful. But it's kind of only a matter of time. I think that there's a few like upcoming games from some of these Embracer studios, and if they don't perform like spectacularly, we're unfortunately going to be seeing a lot more people losing their jobs.
Well, we'll move on then to a potential SAG-AFTRA strike related to video games. So this one's a little nuanced here, but later in the month, there's going to be a vote on whether or not they want to strike against video game companies. In particular, I think this is related to AI as well as various other things, which the other strike is also related to. But I don't know, maybe somebody else, maybe David or Jordan, y'all both know a lot more about this than me. So maybe I can turn it over to one of you or whichever of you feels up to explaining this in a little more detail.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go for it. So the strike that's currently going on is in negotiations for like television and movie acting. But this is, they have a different negotiation and contract for video game work. So some prominent examples would be like Norman Reedus and like Death Stranding or something like that. He makes some deal through SAG-AFTRA. But I don't know, David, you're gonna have to help me here for like what exactly the strike is about. But I mean, I'm assuming it's about something similar as far as like residuals go, and then also just AI use of likeness and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, and I think this is something that is a big misconception with a lot of the SAG-AFTRA. A lot of people, just what they understand about the SAG strike is that it's not really like a likeness thing. Like, yeah, there are increasingly more and more games that use an actor's likeness, like in a game, right? And usually they get like a big name actor because like it's how you sell a big Hollywood movie is you get a named actor, somebody that people recognize. This is more about the little guy, right? Like, a lot of games use a famous actor's likeness. Almost all modern games, if they're done in 3D, use performance capture, 3D rigging, just faceless, nameless people that do all the like acting, like the physical acting in order to get data in for character movement and stuff like that. So I think more than anything, SAG is trying to make sure that those people are properly protected in the video game industry, right? And they're trying to move forward with, a strike has been authorized. Now they just have to vote to see if it's actually going to happen. I know there's been a lot of misconception online as well. People saying like the video game industry is striking. It's like, no. That's not possible. You know what I mean? Like, the video game industry would need to be unionized for that to happen, right? But what this does mean is that anybody who would want to get a job in video games that is a member of SAG would not be able to. They would be striking against that, right? And they specifically called out companies like Activision, Epic Games, WB Games, anything under Disney, right? So it's like that's a lot, right? I mean, that's, Epic Games, that's like Fortnite and all these, which uses extensive motion capture all the time, right? And then not only that, like what we're seeing with the Hollywood strike right now too is that content creators and people who put out stuff about games that do promotion for games, oftentimes, like they're being asked not to promote, projects that fall under the strike, right? So if that were to happen here, I think the thing that would be the most immediately affecting for people out there is that doing paid promotion for, like, let's say Fortnite, or maybe streaming certain games from WB or any of these people like Activision, right? Call of Duty would all of a sudden be seen as scabbing, right? And so that would then make the unions not want to work with these kinds of people in the future, right? So we might see a bit of a change if the strike does go through in like the way that games are promoted and covered, which is kind of like what they want to do to tighten the screws and get some of these negotiations in place, right? Like neither the Hollywood strike or the potential video game strike are asking for a boycott, right? Like neither of them want us to not go to the theater or not buy games. But what they are saying is if we can stop promoting, then the thing that they need us for, that might help us get a better deal. So we'll have to see. Hopefully, some of these big companies are able to play ball and just avoid this whole fucking issue completely, because obviously we all I feel like everybody's feeling the effects of the writers and the actors strike right now in Hollywood. Like if you just ingest media at all. So I really hope that this doesn't come to that point. But we'll just have to see. And either way, good on them, because I'm sure actors have been getting fucked over in the video game space for decades. So it's nice to see something finally happening.
Well, our next news item is also related to employment, but sort of the opposite side of it, which is that according to a report or data from Biz Journal, which is a Japanese source, the Nintendo retention rate for new employees is 98.8%, which is very high. So people who go to work at Nintendo want to stay working at Nintendo is what that means. And apparently the average in Japan is 70%. And to be clear, we're talking about Japan. We're not talking about Nintendo of America, which is a whole nother, not quite the same, I would imagine. We don't have data for that, but I would guess it's a lot lower. And also there's a lot of contractors. But anyway, good on Nintendo of Japan, though it would be great if they took that ethos and made it global. I think that's one thing we could ask them to do. Right?
Yeah. From what I do understand, I mean, there are some good reasons for this. It's like work culture in Japan is really intense, and it's a lot different than it is in the US. I know that Nintendo has like put in a lot of effort to change a lot of that, like on their side. I know they've always had good employee retention, but especially recently being super LGBT friendly. I feel like Nintendo recently has put in a really serious effort to mitigate crunch. You know, like I think that something had come out recently about Mario Wonder, some of the devs on that saying that they were able to work on this game for a very long time, and this game has been in development forever. We heard that with Kirby and Animal Crossing and stuff like that as well. So I think these kinds of practices would, like you said, Patrick, would be best adopted by the rest of the industry, not just in Japan, but worldwide.
With that, we can kind of move into our last few news items, which kind of just move us into the main topic. First up is that the full September Direct rumors are happening. Obviously, the big news this week is the Mario Wonder Direct, and we're going to get into that in our main topic, but that's led some to question whether or not there's going to be a Direct, but people are still saying it's coming. Are there various sources for this? I know somebody you mentioned earlier is among them, David.
Yeah, Hot Girl Video 69 definitely said it's happening, but it also just makes sense. Like every September, there's always a Direct, so if you're just going to go based on history.
Yeah, I actually have pulled up here, and maybe this would be best saved for the main topic, but just while we're talking about it, I have the last like few years of Direct dates pulled up, and there has always been a Direct in September, right? For pretty much since Direct started. But particularly like since 2018, there have been like either individual game or indie showcases or like a mobile Direct or the Mario 35 Direct, whatever, like within like 2 weeks of the September Direct, like usually at the end of August, right? So it would absolutely not be unprecedented for them to have this Mario Direct and then still have one, even if it means it's a partner showcase or something coming up. But also, I mean, past Mario Wonder, we've got a lot more Switch games that we know are coming from Nintendo themselves. And then in addition to that, whatever anybody else has cooked up for the Switch in the coming months. And let's not forget, obviously, we've got to reveal whatever the next Mario Kart tracks are going to be, right? So I definitely think that we will see one, but we'll get into that a little bit more in the main topic.
Yeah, and another thing we'll get into a little bit more in the main topic is that, Mario Wonder was shown off a little bit at the PAX / Nintendo Live event that just happened in Seattle. And they also not only, had it out there for people to play, they did a Treehouse presentation. It's been a while since we've seen a Treehouse, thanks to E3 being wonky. I guess maybe there's been odd ones like this, right? I don't know. But I actually haven't watched it, partly because I've just been so busy. But I don't know. Do we want to save maybe?
Yeah, I think we should save the Mario Wonder stuff for the main topic. But maybe we could just talk about Nintendo Live,
Sure.
because man, I was looking at that stuff this weekend and I was like, fuck, I should have gone to this. Like I was getting like major FOMO. It looked like it was a ton of fun. Just the way they had everything set up was really, really cool. They had like full, a whole Animal Crossing section with all the Animal Crossing characters and like mascot costumes. There was like an old school, like 1980s, like bedroom with like an NES and an old school TV setup, and kind of just like the history of Nintendo, a little bit of an area. Obviously you had the Mario Wonder like demos playable with a lot of content, as I understand. And then basically any of the big like standees that they'd had for like promoting their games in the past like 3 to 4 years were like all at this event, right? It was basically tacked on to PAX West, right? So it was kind of like, it's not too much of a schlep to take everything over from Nintendo of America headquarters, whatever storage room they've got there, where they've got all these like these fabricated standees, over there. So it makes sense, but it's like really feels like they went all out. So if they do another one of these, I'll probably try to make an effort to actually go next time, because it definitely seemed like it was a pretty cool event.
It feels almost like what they might have done at an E3 or something. Because I was not expecting it to be as in depth as it was,
Yeah.
So definitely seemed really cool. I don't feel like they really let on what it was going to be like either. Like it was very vague from what I remember. So it's cool to see them like go all out. Hopefully they'll do some more stuff like this in the future. Also, maybe even a touring show. That would be sick.
Yeah, I think a touring show would be really awesome. More of these like tournaments and stuff. I didn't actually see like what the concerts were like, but I bet those were pretty cool too.
I think that's gonna do it then. For our news, obviously, there's one big piece of news that we haven't really delved into, and that is that there was this Super Mario Bros. Wonder Direct, and we're gonna go through that whole thing as in our main topic. And we're also going to spend a little bit of time talking about, what does this mean for a September Direct, which we've already kind of hit, and what we might see in a full September Direct after this break. We are back, and this week we are talking about the Super Mario Wonder Direct and a potential September Direct and what we might see in that and how those two things relate, if at all. So we're going to start with the Super Mario Wonder Direct. We got a 15-minute presentation at the end of last month on this game. A lot of things were explained and shown off, though I imagine there are still some questions and exciting things to discover, though maybe with the tree house and everybody having played it at Nintendo Live, that's not quite so true. Maybe it's pretty well known. I don't know. But we're going to dig into all that and talk all about it and our opinions on it and that kind of thing. I only got a chance to watch this thing one time. I typically try to watch these things multiple times when we talk about them, but just because of my schedule. But man, I'm really excited about this game. What about you two? Like, how are we feeling?
Oh man, it looks fantastic, man. It's just like the visuals are so gorgeous and exactly like the update that I feel like it needed. And all the new stuff is like different enough and new enough to be exciting, but the classic Mario that you come to expect. So looks great.
Yeah, man. I am like over the moon excited for this game. I think it looks fucking wonderful. I think that, pardon the pun. I think there's been a lot of like new Super Mario Brothers slander going on ever since this game was like shown off. And I understand that people found the formula to be stale. There were like 4 new Super Mario Brothers games. They all pretty much looked the same. They all had very similar aesthetics and felt a little lifeless and dead. And I think a lot of that is like in comparison to the new game, obviously. I just want to go on the record. I think all of those games are fantastic. I think some of them have like really, really great level design. They're all really very fun. New Super Luigi U is like really chaotic and crazy. That said, this looks so much better than the new Super Mario Brothers games. Like, it's like, this to me feels like the jump. Like if the new Super Mario Brothers games were like the NES Marios, this feels like a Super Mario World moment for me. And in fact, watching this direct and then watching a lot of the gameplay and a lot of what people are saying about this feels like a very Super Mario World coded game all the way down to the subtitle starting with a W, right? Like, I think that it's, there's elements in this that feel like they're straight lifted from it, like the kind of holding on to the item, like the little reserve item box that you have that was shown in here, to you being able to inflate, to just the way, the dinosaurs, the way that the environment like plays a much bigger role, it seems, all reminds me very much, and the overworld as well kind of reminds me of it too. So I think, to me, as like somebody, that Super Mario World is my favorite video game of all time. I don't think it gets much better than that. I think it's by far the best Mario game. I think that this is looking to me like something that is right up my alley. I'm really excited for. Also, the game looks huge. So yeah, I can't wait to get into more details about this direct.
One of the things that was most striking to me, I just want to bring up, is how new everything is. When they're showing this off, just every enemy, there's tons of new enemies, and they all look like appropriate Mario enemies, right? Like they could have been in Mario games forever, but they aren't. Or little items, like, or variations of existing enemies, right? Like spikes with fireballs, skating Koopa Troopas. Like, it just feels... I'm with you, David, that like new Super Mario Bros. Games are great, but like, there's just so much creativity in this and so much newness, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
It feels like a much younger development team, right?
Yeah.
It feels like fresh, and it's like, all right, guys, we got it. You know, it feels like the last, like, all the most recent 2D Mario games, including Mario Maker, probably, were all pretty much made by the same kind of group that have been doing it for a long time, right? This is some new blood. They've had the time to work on it. They're not kind of beholden to the old guard anymore. It's really great to see.
Yeah.
Well, where do y'all want to start? Should we start with the characters? I kind of want to talk about the characters first, because I feel like that's big. There are... What is it? I mean, this is kind of cheating, but are there 12 playable characters in this game? Like, if you count all the things as individuals,
I need to look at the screenshot.
That sounds right, because it's the 4 Yoshis, and then I think it's 12.
Maybe it's cheating to count the Toads and Yoshis as separate, but it's not really. But I think that's crazy, right? At most, we've had 5 in one of the new Super Mario Bros. Games, give or take. So obviously, you got Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy making their appearance for the first time. 2 different Toads you can pick from, in addition to Toadette, the 4 colored Yoshis, and Nabbit.
Yeah.
I think it's nice that they're bringing back Nabbit for the easy mode, but I'm really happy that they're bringing back, or that they are putting Yoshi in as a sort of different easy mode, right? Like, because Yoshi has the ability to flutter jump and the ability to be ridden upon.
Even if you're Yoshi.
Right. So what you're saying is, you think that Nabbit is kind of an in-between of the normal characters and Yoshi, which is really like the super easy mode. Is that kind of what you're saying, Patrick?
I think Yoshi is the super easy mode, because that flutter jump's going to make a big difference for a lot of kids and people who aren't as good at platforming. It's going to give you that extra little lift. And you might think, man, Nabbit makes these games too easy. But for some kids, like, it was still hard for my son when we played new Super Mario U Deluxe at first. I mean, I don't remember exactly what age he was when that came out, but like, he still fell in pits. You know what I mean? Like, because jumping is still a skill that, exists. And obviously this now gives options, which is nice. Though I guess if you really like Yoshi, you might be disappointed because you want to play Yoshi like a normal character.
I kind of wish that, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but it seems like the options menu, something that's been discovered in a lot of the hands-on sessions, is really robust, and there's a lot of things you can toggle. So I think it'd be really cool to have the ability to play as Yoshi and still take damage.
Right.
I think though the reason that they're doing it is, it seems that Yoshi, unlike Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, and the Toads, does not, power-ups don't affect Yoshi. We have yet to see Yoshi as an elephant, for instance.
Right.
That's because I don't think that there is an elephant form of Yoshi. I think that, there's a regular Mario and a Super Mario, and then powered up Mario. But I don't think we have that for the Yoshis or Nabbit, right?
Yeah.
So that's a little disappointing. But I mean, still, that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4. That leaves us with like 7 characters that we can still pick that do have power ups and everything, right? So it's not the end of the world.
No.
I'm happy to see it, but yeah, it's nice to have those options for all different kinds of gamers.
I agree.
Sure.
I wish it was like you said a little bit, where it was like pick your character and then toggle whether or not they take damage, right? Like because
Yeah.
I don't know, like it'd be the counter side to like Nabbit's not a very well known character. Most kids don't want to play Nabbit. You know what I mean? Like
That's a weird ass fucking pick to be in this game. Just like a random dude. I think they just put him in because New Super Mario Brothers U sold like 20 million copies or something, and they're like, all right, people are like aware of him.
We know who Nabbit is, and it's the easy one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be nice if you could be like, I like Mario. I'm 4 and I want to play as Mario and not have to worry about those things, because in my experience of playing with kids want to be the main character. You know, they don't want to be Banana Waddle Dee. They want to be Kirby, or whatever. Like, so anyway, there's options though. Lots of characters.
About those characters though, I was curious, like they said they all play the same. So we're not going to get like the slight variations between, Mario, Luigi, and Peach, Peach having the little float, Luigi jumping a little bit higher, having a different arc and being more floaty. So I don't know. I'm kind of like curious. That's just going to feel weird to me after so many years of getting used to all their like semi bespoke movement. I'm taking that word from you, David. It's one of my favorite words that you say.
Okay.
So I mean, just taking all those movements away is just going to be hard for my brain to process at first. But I'm glad they have so many options.
I'm kind of forgetting now. In New Super Mario Brothers, did Luigi have his flutter jump?
I think so. I'm not sure, but I
have to fire it up right now.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely did in New Super Luigi U, right? But like, that's a good question.
Yeah, I guess he did. Because I know like it was Mario, Luigi, and the 2 Toads, right? And I feel like they all
or Toadette
pretty much
in the deluxe version, yeah.
Right. Anyway, it's cool to see. I think I'm personally totally cool with that. I think it's another thing that's kind of makes it feel like Super Mario World to me, right? Is they performed the same in those, right? And I think that the way that they're getting around that this time is if you want the Luigi flutter jump, there's a badge for that, right? Like maybe we could talk about badges, like the new thing that they've added in, this new mechanic.
Yeah.
That's they've basically, that was something that was revealed in this, is that you can collect badges as you play through the game that give you kind of like modifiers to the way that the game plays. This seems to kind of be also another sort of veiled accessibility option kind of worked in as gameplay. So much so to where I was like, man, if you just add in all this shit, it's going to make it way too fucking easy, right? Like some of those would be, there's kind of that flutter jump that Luigi has from his games. There's kind of a wall climb thing where if you're close enough to the edge of a platform, you'll kind of boost yourself up. What were some of the other ones? There's a hook shot.
Parachute cap.
Oh yeah, so we'd seen that already, but we weren't sure what it was, and it's kind of like a float down, gradually sort of item that you can equip, and so there's a number of these in it, and you can see this in the direct, but I think something that they're doing to kind of counteract it just completely breaking the game is you can only take one into a level at a time, which I think is great, right? And then if you don't want them, you don't have to. Like I'm probably going to play a first playthrough without these on, to be honest, just because I love platformers. I love the challenge of a good Mario platformer, right? But I also love going hog and like doing fun things. And I think these would be really fun for like speed running, right? Like picking which one is going to be best for each level for speed purposes. Like that seems like a ton of fun. And then, something else that they showed in the treehouse, and I've been hearing from hands-on impressions, is that each of these badges that you get kind of has their own like little challenge level that kind of increase in difficulty. Like maybe there's a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3. And it kind of like is teaching you how to use the like new ability, but also gives you a good challenge instead of just making regular levels easier, right? So I think that that's a really good balance that they've struck with these badges. I don't know what you guys think about these though.
It feels like medium mode, so you got the easy, now this is the medium, and then the regular, whatever. But no, the other one that I was really stoked about was the invisibility badge, which just turns your character invisible to you and the enemies. And I kick, like, when you're saying speed running, I'm like, the speed runs with the invisible badge are going to be awesome. They're going to be so much fun to watch.
It's like a built-in blindfold mode.
Yeah, well, dude, blindfolded invisible, that's the speed run I want to see. But it's also going to change it because like all the enemies are, if they don't, the implication is that if they don't see you, they don't attack you or move towards you.
Maybe, yeah.
Anyway, whatever. I'm just like, I'm curious. I really want to see that. But yeah, it's cool. And then even like the grappling seems like it would be really cool. And just a speed run for every badge is going to be really fun to watch because people are going to find crazy ways to use these to just get that time down to the smallest possible. But
yeah.
You
have in here Dolphin Kick is another one that makes it to where you just swim. You could swim way faster and better, which I know has been a huge complaint in Mario games, is that the underwater levels are really boring. So I think if you hate water levels, this is going to be an awesome one for you. It kind of gives you that like Donkey Kong Country Returns, like boost thing, right? Like that's really awesome. In fact, a lot of this game kind of feels like they took a lot of inspiration from Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze. Yeah, like coin magnet and sensor, a lot of like kind of quality of life stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's going to be really nice to have for a lot of players.
Yeah, I'm really cautiously optimistic about badges. I think it's a cool way to do things. I hope it works out. And that invisibility badge makes me wish there was one or two other badges that are like negative. Like
I bet there will be.
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, I think
that make it harder.
There were a number that were still grayed out in the menu that they showed. I'm sure we haven't seen all of them.
Yeah, it'd be cool if there's more hard mode ones in addition to easy mode ones, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, we talked a little about the new enemies. We talked about badges, characters. I would like to talk about the new power-ups maybe next. So the three main ones that they showed off in the direct, I presumably the three to expect are the elephant, which we've already seen, and then two additional ones of the bubble and the drill. Well, yeah, let's talk about these. What do y'all think so far about what they showed of these?
Dude, the bubble was so sick. It just reminded me of in Mario Odyssey where you throw your cap and then bounce off your cap, but now you can kind of like set your path with the bubbles. That was really interesting. Again, bubble, invisibility, speed run. I'm like thinking of all the combinations already that it just seems like a lot of fun. But that's probably was my favorite of the three so far. Besides also getting to see Peach as an elephant, which I was like really curious. And it looks exactly what you would expect. I don't know.
Just like a sexy fucking elephant.
Mario looks pretty good too. I don't know.
Mario's looking great.
They're all looking pretty good.
Toad elephant looks a little, I'm coming around to Toad elephant. Just looks like an elephant with a diaper on, basically.
Toad elephant does just look like an elephant.
Yeah.
More than the other. I mean, they all do.
Yeah, I think the bubble is interesting because it can be used in a lot of different ways. Like you can trap enemies in it and then like pop them. You can like shoot through platforms to hit them or whatever. But yeah, like you were saying, the thing that really excites me about the bubble ability is that to me, it reminds me of Super Mario Galaxy 2 with the when you do the twirl and you make the cloud platforms that you can then jump off of. Like just having the ability to shoot new platforms out in front of you, do triple jumps in the air and get to really high places. Like that seems really fucking cool. So I'm into that. Drill reminds me a lot of like Ascend from Tears of the Kingdom. You know, you can like go up into the ceiling and kind of like move around and go under stuff. Like kind of it plays almost like mini Mushroom or whatever from the new Super Mario Brothers games, like getting in under platforms that you're not supposed to be able to.
It also seems like the shell mitts from Mario Maker, which have never had
great call.
True, 2D Mario equivalents, but it's not exactly the same, but at least in terms of jumping up and hitting people.
Yeah, I mean, they showed in the treehouse, they showed spinies coming down and they just bounce right off your head. Whenever they act exactly like shell mitts. That's a really good.
But also they act in crazy other ways, like you said, where you can just skip enemies by going underground or whatever.
Yeah.
So I I think what's interesting, and until we play the game, I don't know how it'll work, but like if you can, and it seems like you can carry power-ups and you can alter badges, that there's going to be a lot of weird interactions and mixing and matching, and where it almost does feel like a Mario Maker kind of like, if I take this badge with this power up and watch me cruise through this level or have this weird experience or what have you. And to combine all of that with the wonder effect weirdness, which maybe we could talk about next.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they showed off in the direct, the wonder effect, which is like a special thing that can happen. Is it on every level?
I think so.
Yeah.
If you get
maybe not on those like challenge levels that we were talking about before, but I think on like the main stages. Yeah.
If you get the Wonder Flower, then the level just kind of turns upside down, which also feels a little Mario Maker-y to me, right? With the like night mode in Mario Maker 2, where things can get weird. But they showed a number of these, the stage turning angles, you playing at weird angles. You mentioned earlier, David, the pee balloon is a thing that happens in this. Speaking of nighttime mode, there's kind of like a floaty kind of thing. I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of variety in this game from all these things. Any of the wonder effects stand out to y'all?
Yeah, that floaty one you're talking about gave me major Mario Land 2 6 golden coins, like moon stage vibes, like where you're kind of avoiding the spikes. It was basically looked like it was doing that almost verbatim, which I love. The perspective change one really fucked with my head. Do you guys see that? I like gasped.
Yeah, it's like
I was like,
it's like top down now.
Yeah. It was really, really weird. Like that was like, that kind of like made me feel strange in my body. Like when I saw it, I like didn't know what to do with that information, but so like stuff like that gets me really excited. Right. And it's also like, you don't have to do these. Like there's levels. It's like, you could just beat the level like normal. And then there's also, you can do this. They're kind of like little mini levels within levels. It seems like these like wonder flower things. So that's really great. I love that. It's just going to add even more variety to what already is seeming like one of the biggest 2D Mario games ever made right now, as far as sheer level count is concerned. But yeah, I think it's wonderful. And then you get seeds if you complete it in time, or if you get to the goal, you get wonder seeds after you do the wonder flower. And then I think you also get a wonder seed for clearing the stage.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you get to the badges then, is that you purchase badges with wonder seeds, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it's kind of like a whole kind of currency thing going on here, if I'm not wrong.
I think it was actually, there's like two different currencies that you pick up. There's like the coins and then those like little purple diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those diamonds are what you use to buy the badges. And the seeds gate the levels like stars.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So
yeah.
I feel like you're going to have to eventually do these like wonder things just to get enough seeds to proceed to the next like level or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, it's just another great little thing to do to like make it feel broken up. I'm curious. I mean, it seems like every level is going to have one specific wonder effect that happens on that level every single time.
Yeah.
It's not like every level, it could be one of these options. These are just,
they're like built into the level design.
Okay, sick.
Yeah, they're like kind of alternate versions of the stage that you're playing on. Yeah.
Also, sick Super Mario Land 2 reference. Thanks, David, for pointing that out. That's like one of my favorite stages in that game.
Yeah, incredible stuff.
Yeah.
Well, two more things maybe before we talk about co-op and online I want to make sure we hit. And one of those is the talking flowers. We already knew about this from the direct back whenever that last one was. They showed off this game. But they kind of highlighted it again. And I know some people have had mixed reactions to this. Some people feel like it's going to be annoying. I kind of like the voice personally. So I doubt I'll turn it off, though. Who knows? Maybe I will find it annoying once I actually play. I think it's cool that it exists, but I also think it's super cool that we know you can turn them off. Because that's key, right? If you get tired of it or it's annoying. But I like that for the first time, we're having a little bit of ambient dialogue in Mario, like a little bit of NPCs that talk or whatever.
Yeah. For me, it just feels like a more accessibility for kids that are going to play this game. There's going to be kids who not necessarily able to read like all that amount of text, and they're going to be able to just like talk to that. And then also it just seems like it gives you hints, like it's kind of like a hint system, almost like a Navi style. So it'll be great just to have a younger audience like be able to fully enjoy the game as well.
Yes. I mean, I like the idea of the flowers. I love that you can turn them off. I think that's so fucking fantastic. I think it's like, hopefully this starts a trend with Nintendo games. Like Nintendo option menus are so
terrible.
Shitty, dude. Like, and I don't think it's the case in here, but it's like, there's never any like sound options.
No,
you know what I mean? Like volume control, volume sliders, like every other fucking game in existence has them, except for Nintendo games, and I don't understand why. But like, I'm looking at some of the menus now that like Game Explain put up a little video of the options menu in this. You can have the talking flower voice on, or just have the text on, or turn both off. You can. It says badge selection on retry. You can like, if you're retrying a stage, you can have it automatically open the badge thing, or you can just be like, keep what I had already. You can turn motion controls on and off. You can change the controls for like ground pounds. Let's see. You can change the language of the talking flowers as well. You can have them be in Japanese if you wanted. Multiple things with online notifications. So it's like, obviously, they're still not doing volume controls for some fucking reason, which is really what I want in Nintendo games. But
you
it's
like
have
the sound effects, or you don't because you're listening to your own music.
Sometimes I like listening to my own music, or like, or I want to play with music and then just go like myself, whatever. I'm joking, but
do all the sound effects yourself, yeah.
But
Foley artist over here, like what?
Yeah. But no, it's great, and I love that we're getting more robust stuff in here as far as that's concerned, and it's just nice to have some like actual voice acting in a Mario game too, minus just the hee-hees and the woohoos and the wowie zowies, which maybe we could talk about that. I mean, sounds pretty good. Whoever this non-Charles Martinet Mario is, I'm totally on board and okay with whoever they got. It sounds perfectly fine to me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known the difference if you had told me. I don't think.
Yeah. Like now that it's pointed out, I can definitely hear it, but it's, yeah.
Have they said who it is yet? Or is that just going to be in the credits when we get the game?
Yeah. They have even said you'll need to buy the game to see in the credits. Like they're like not going to announce it before the game comes out. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. It's Chris Pratt.
Yeah, that just
that's what it feels like. No,
it does feel like it's something, but it's probably they just want to keep it under wrap. I don't know why. That's weird.
Yeah.
The other quick thing I wanted to talk about before we move on, we kind of talked about the new aesthetic of the game, but I wanted to talk about the aesthetic of sort of the world and the like little prince that apparently is with you the whole time, and they're not toads. What are they called? The little flower kingdom people.
Florians.
Yeah, Florians. I think
because I think those feel very Mario, but they also feel very Mario and Luigi games to me.
Yeah.
And I think that like Prince Florian feels like, what's the one that's on the NSO, which I've played a little bit of that Mario and Luigi game.
Superstar Saga.
That one has like a kingdom in it that feels similar to this. It's not 1-to-1 or anything, but it's cool to see some of these influences, whether or not it's real influences and just me perceiving it that's that way. But I just think it looks cool.
I do love how in the official render for Prince Florian, he's sticking his little ass towards the camera. He's like just got his ass up. He's like looking over. He's like, "Hey, bitch." I just like that about him. Yeah. He's just a sassy little bitch. I can't wait to get to know this guy. But yeah, all the new characters look great. I think it's really cool that we're leaving the Mushroom Kingdom and we're like doing some shit elsewhere. We're like, and you said this earlier with the enemies too. It's like been so long that we've been kind of like, all right, everything has to be a Goomba, or all the toads have to look the same, and they're still doing that with like the things that we know, but they're adding so much new canonical shit that we'll be able to see in new Mario games, and hopefully we always see new stuff going forward.
I didn't really think about it, like why they look so familiar to me, but I did play Superstar Saga not that long ago on 3DS. And yeah, they look like the people of the Bean Bean Kingdom.
The Bean Beans, yes.
Yeah, and I'm like, Bean Flower Kingdom, definitely. And then I'm looking at a photo right now of a drawing.
An authentic.
This was captured on 35mm film.
Yes, an authentic film photograph of Prince Peasley, another prince, and he's the Bean Kingdom Prince
Right.
that's in that game. And they definitely,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a side by side after this and post it in the Discord or something.
Yeah, send it to me.
Yeah.
Well, we should start to wrap up our Mario Wonder, but we got to talk about we got to talk about the online. First of all, local co-op exists. I don't think there's any surprises here. 4 players, local co-op.
Main thing to talk about that is that the there's no like collision, right? And there's no more fucking with people and picking them up and throwing them off like fucking Matt gets off on whenever he plays online Mario games with us. He's always like, haha, this is fun. And I just don't think that's fun. It just makes me frustrated. And I think it makes most people other than Matt Stoner frustrated. So I'm glad that they're just getting rid of it and that it seems like you pass through people. It means also the stages don't have to be massive and really tall to account for picking people up and jumping off people's heads and everything like that. Like they feel like tighter, more old school sized stages, right? And just because you can pass through each other and you're kind of all playing on your own, I just think that's much better personally. And I'm glad they did away with it. It was fun while it lasted. Let's not go back to that if we can help it, right? Or, work it into a 3D game or something.
Or it
like
makes
that,
sense
right?
in like a competitive mode, maybe.
Right.
Like
Right.
which or not, or having the option, right? Like in Smash, you can play 2-player where you hurt each other or you don't,
Yeah.
Or teams,
I
mean, yeah.
Right. And I think the other thing to talk about with local co-op before we get to the online is just that the bubbles have been done away with as far as like when a character dies, you don't like come back as a bubble now. It's kind of the opposite. In fact, they actually seem to have taken this from Spelunky 2, and actually maybe Spelunky 1 also did this. But when you're playing multiplayer co-op in those games, when you die, you become a ghost, right? And in this as well, when you go off the edge, you become a ghost. And the way that it's different in this game is that you then have I think it's like 5 seconds. It's pretty quick that you have to go back towards one of the people that are running around and you touch them in order to come back to life. Or you come back later by taking another life or whatever, right? But it's like, that's so much better than it was before, where it's like you come back as a bubble and whoever's playing has to go the fuck out of their way to go save your ass. Now it's like, no, the onus is on the person who died to go touch somebody who's like currently playing. And I just think that's a much better change. It makes a lot more sense. And I think it's going to be more fair. And I think the gameplay will be stopped much less frequently, right? You'll just be able to keep playing as you normally would, and the person will come back. Yeah. So I think that's a good change.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was always weird. Like, someone threw you off the stage and then they have to come back and grab your bubble. Is that kind of how that would go? So it's like I can't even trust them to not throw me off the stage to put me in the bubble in the first place. Like it definitely seems like a nicer change for sure. As well as like the standees being also a place that you can revive from. Mm-hmm. And I guess, sorry, did you want to talk about the live player shadows first?
Yeah,
that's with the online, right?
Yeah. Let's dig into the online. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no online, co-op exactly for the main game, but instead there's this thing where other people playing the same level as you, presumably at the same time, right? Who are online, you'll see them as little shadows. And
it's like almost exactly like Dark Souls or like Elden Ring. They straight up took that from software games, right? Even down to the standees, like you were just talking about, Jordan. It's like you can leave little statues for people to revive on, right? Like that's, I think, straight up how those games work with the multiplayer.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't really. This is the part I'm least excited about, and I don't like games where there are other people running around that I don't really interact with. I don't know. I guess I feel like a 2D Mario game I like playing through it and I don't need the little extra help. I know some people might, and so it's good for them, but I will probably turn this off and never use it, personally. I guess I'll try it to just make sure. I don't know, do y'all feel this differently? Or is this something that, because I know a few people I was surprised to see be like, cool, I'll probably play with that all the time,
Patrick, what about your heart points?
what do they even
How
get you?
how are people going to know you're a good person on the internet?
If I haven't given them
Super Mario Wonder.
standees?
Yeah. If you haven't. I think this for like a first playthrough, definitely turn these off. But maybe after that, turn them on just to see what it's like. I don't know. David, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be distracting to see a bunch of like ghosts of people running around. Like, I'm just not going to want it, right? Like, I think that said, I do like the idea of how they're doing. I mean, you can make a room with your friends, right? And so I think that would be fun, and I'd like to play with that and see my friends running around. But just like a cacophony of random people running around, like even Mario 35 didn't do that, right? Like Mario 35 had 35 other players that you're playing against, but it's enemies that come in, not like the ghosts of a bunch of fucking random people, right? Just because that would be really chaotic. Yeah. So I think that it's better to have it this way, and I think it makes sense with what they were trying to do with Mario Maker 2 with the online in that game. You know, like they just couldn't get the netcode right to where everybody is exactly running on the same instance of the game. You're only going to be as good as the weakest person, right? So I think the way that they're doing it now, where the people, even the friends that you're playing against, are all kind of on their own thing. So if there's any choppiness and they get choppy, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like that's just on them, and they'll catch up to you eventually, right? You know, but you don't have to slow down because of that, right? So I think it's ultimately a good trade-off. I do wish that there was a way, like you were saying, Patrick, that you could just have regular co-op with friends that you know have good internet connections, you know? But I think as far as like everybody being around is concerned, like I don't need random players to like help me out. You know, I'd rather just die and restart and get better at it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and in addition to playing with friends in a room with that, there is also now the races, which again, they are the shadows, and they are not, so they don't, and there's no collision, unlike Mario Maker 2 races. So I think that's kind of cool. You know, it's probably like David said, I'm sure it's like they just realized they can't figure out how to make that work. So this is a solution. It's better than nothing. And in some ways it makes it a more pure race. You know what I mean? Because it's not about, you know, oh, I jumped and that other person fell and I bumped into them and what have you. Right. Like, which sometimes happens. So I'm excited to see this. I hope it works well.
I can't wait for the races. I think racing looks like a ton of fun. What's kind of weird about this is that you can be in rooms of, I think, up to 12 people is what they said, right? But I think only 4 people can be in a level at any one time, right? So it's like, I might be wrong on that.
For the races,
like,
at least, right?
Maybe it's just, for the races. But it's like, what the idea is, you party up with a group of up to 12, and then everybody just kind of plays the game on their own, you know? And then it's like, you could see what levels they're in, and then you can go join them if you want, like in that level that they're in currently, right? And so it's a much more like kind of, it almost reminds me of like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet multiplayer, which I was not a fan of, right? So hopefully it kind of has a little bit more like oomph to it, but it's just interesting to just kind of party up, play the game on your own, and then be like, hey, do you guys want to play this stage together, right? It's just weird how it goes. It's so far away from like traditional multiplayer. And whatever. I'm glad that they're like trying something new.
Well, I think, you know, that's our main things we wanted to hit. Is there anything else before we kind of move on to what this means for a September Direct and any September Direct speculation we want to do?
I mean, I could really talk about this a lot more, but we should probably hold this for like an actual Mario Wonder episode when the game comes out.
Fair enough.
There is a Mario Wonder OLED Switch that they revealed at the end of the Direct, which, fine. That's fine.
That's fine.
It's red.
It's red. Yeah. Cool. But yeah, let's talk about the other stuff.
Let's talk about the other stuff. So, you know, when this was announced, I think a lot of people were like, does this mean there's no September Direct? Because why would they do this? And I think realistically, now that we've seen that the game was at Nintendo Live, we know why they did this, right? And it was to get right out in front of the Nintendo Live event where they actually had this on the floor to share with everybody, so it wasn't being filtered through news sites and people could get excited about it and then hear more as that kind of played out. So I think my gut at first was like there won't be a September Direct because they're doing this, or they will, or it will be late September, or it will be, who knows, maybe they're gonna do a wild card and do it in October this time. But I feel less like that after hearing about the Nintendo Live event.
I think you're right on the money. I think that I also was confused. I was like, why would they separate this out, right, from a regular Direct? This would have been, even if it was 15 minutes long, I think it would have been totally fine to have 15 minutes of a Nintendo Direct to be about this game, right? But yeah, I think you're on the money. I hadn't even really considered that they knew this event was coming. They wanted to have it on the show floor, and they needed to get it out there before, so people were just like, what the fuck, why is this game here and nobody talked about it, and just to make sure impressions videos didn't go up like before they had a chance to show it off themselves, right? But yeah, I fully expect to see a Direct in September still.
Yeah, I mean, there's just like a decent amount of stuff we don't still know much about regarding like next year. So I was like looking at it. I think the last like official release scheduled game is Super Mario RPG in November, on November 17th. So I mean, that leaves a big hole in December and early 2024 of like, what are we going to be getting the rest of this year and into the early next year? And we have possibilities, but nothing's like concrete. So I think that's probably wise, like what we're going to probably see in this.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anybody here, and most people listening probably don't think this, but there's no way they're showing off the next console at a September Direct. I mean,
no,
I think they aren't going to show off new hardware at a Direct anyway. They're going to have some sort of separate event. Probably, at least that would be my suspicion. And I don't think they would do it now. This month, that is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put that out there as a big stake in the ground, not happening. But that obviously there is a lot of software then, right? Like I think what we know, I think that Peach game, I think you mentioned Super Mario RPG. I think they're going to give us a good, because that was just a kind of quick trailer in the last Direct. It wasn't like it was like, dive. And it showed off some new aspects or some modern things that they've added. I think they could do a good bit on that.
Yeah, I feel like from Nintendo, like let's assuming that this isn't a purely third-party partner showcase, which I don't think it will be. Like you've said, that we've got enough stuff here that could potentially be in there. I do think it's going to be largely third-party focused, but we'll definitely see Mario RPG again. We'll get a little bit more information about like what they've added to that game, what makes it a little bit different from the NES release. I think it's very likely that we'll get another GameCube port of some nature here. It seems like they're kind of on a roll as far as that's concerned. I mentioned earlier, I think the Mario Kart DLC is all but confirmed to be here. We'll like kind of learn what that's going to be and maybe who the new characters are and what the final like big surprises, if they're going to add any like new modes for that game or something like that, right? You have listed on here Tears of the Kingdom DLC. I think that is that's a pretty safe bet, right? That we'll be getting that. And then, I think they'll probably announce, the kind of final, Game Boy Advance and N64 games that need to come out that they've said are coming out. And then maybe whatever is going to be happening next with NSO. But it's been a while since we've gotten NSO in a Direct. It's been kind of relegated to Twitter drops and random kind of YouTube announcements on like, hey, Excitebike 64 came out, which by the way, that game fucking rules. None of you guys had played it last episode, and I was like, this game rocks. I wish I was on this episode right now. But like, I think it's really only like 1080 and Mario Party 3 that are left, right? So maybe we'll get those two dropped, and they'll tell us about some more stuff coming.
I think the Peach game and Luigi's Mansion, very likely, it's again, just tie in with Super Mario RPG. Talk about those things in succession, probably, and maybe even a quick Mario Wonder hit. If they really were saving a Luigi's Mansion 1 remaster 2 for an extra surprise, we might see that here too. Unless that's pretty far off, unless it's like, middle of next year. But I would expect one or both of those games are early in 2024.
Yeah, this would be a good time. If they're like January, February games, like this is where we'd see them. Right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then you've got a lot of really great notes in here, Jordan. Is there any of these you want to make sure we hit for possibilities?
They've been talking about the Wind Waker, Twilight Princess forever. It would fit the GameCube port. It might tie in with some Tears of the Kingdom DLC. But I mean, I'm like, if we haven't seen it at this point, I'm like, it's like hard to hold out any like hope, it's like,
Next
the other one
is what they're going to do that on, yeah.
And then the other GameCube game that, we've heard rumored a lot is Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I really have a heart. I don't think it's going to happen since Super Mario RPG is like the next Mario RPG they probably want to focus on. So if that is a real thing, I don't think we see that till mid next year at the earliest.
Switch 2. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, for sure.
Real quick to piggyback on that, Donkey Kong, there's been rumors about a Donkey Kong game. And after seeing Mario Wonder and that coming out now, unless it's very different, which it could be a 3D game. There were some rumors of that, right?
Last I heard is it was a 2D game from the Odyssey team. Yeah,
which makes me think that they wwouldn't want to release that anytime soon.
I think you hold that. I think you hold that for Switch 2. Yeah. Summer direct next year, maybe.
Yeah. Or if the Switch 2 is far out and it's definitely coming on the Switch, it's got to be at least middle of next year. So we probably don't hear about that. You've got Metroid Prime Remaster 2 and 3. Those could be possibilities.
It's possible because like the rumor is they'd be more like straight up ports. I don't know if they'd release it 1 and like 2 at once, or if they're trying to drip feed it. I think it really depends how far along Metroid Prime 4 is. So like if they drop them both at once, to me that's a signal of like, okay, we're a little bit closer on Metroid Prime 4 than if they had done just 2, and then maybe like 6 months from now they do 3. But I also don't think Metroid Prime is coming anytime. Metroid Prime 4, is coming anytime soon. We have heard nothing about this game. I feel like it's still a Switch. That's going to be a Switch 2.
Well, at least we know Retro's not crunching.
Yeah, true, dude. Yeah, man. I think a really big possibility, though, is like maybe a shadow drop of Metroid Zero Mission onto the NSO just to like keep the interest alive, because they have been putting a little bit more love to the franchise as of late. So I wouldn't be surprised if they like just want to keep that going, just to generate some more interest.
Ideal for me would be like Metroid Prime 2 is coming, and also Zero Mission, and F-Zero GX is coming, and also Maximum Velocity, right? Or like that's these kind of just package in the GBA games with games that go with them, right? They kind of did that with Fusion and Metroid Prime Remaster, right? Those came out around the same time.
Yeah. What else? I was looking at, I still don't really believe that Mercury Steam is only working on that mobile game. Maybe see something from them, but again, do you mean Grezzo? No. Yeah. I don't remember.
Yeah, I know. Grezzo is working on that mobile game. That I think did come out, if I'm not mistaken. Mercury Steam is rumored to be working on 2 big projects right now, according to their investor call or whatever.
You're right. I have them both on here, and I got them mixed up.
All good. Thanks, that's why I'm here, baby.
Appreciate it. But Mercury Steam, we don't know what they're working on besides there's just 2 games. That's it, right?
Yeah, even that's just something that was told to investors internally within their own, it was in Spanish, and it was like a Spanish investor call. So, but yeah, I don't know I don't think we're quite ready yet to see what's new from Mercury Steam. I do think we could see something from Grezzo. You have on here a Kid Icarus port, man. Dude, now is the time, I think, in the waning years of the Switch, getting some of these 3DS ports out. That's been rumored. Nothing saying that that's really going to happen, but oh boy, that would be a really, really excellent time. Like that'd be a great December game, honestly, to fill that December spot, which is like totally wide open right now for Nintendo.
Yeah, and I remember just hearing rumors about that. I mean, and I would also love, a Samus Returns port, but I just, with the
any number of 3DS ports would be so cool.
With Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, I feel like that opened the door for the possibility. So we'll see how that pans out. Not to say anything's guaranteed, but
if there's a September Direct, it's very likely it's going to open with something big or close with something big, and probably something we haven't talked about. Do y'all have any big swings for like some sort of big announcement for either a Christmas game or a early 2024 game that's big?
My one big swing, Silk Song. I'm taking the swing. It's happening, dude. This is the time. It's here.
Sports story.
I think it's possible. I'm really fascinated by how that game is going to be announced when they're ready. Like, are they going to do it in one of these kind of presentations with one of the big companies? Because at this point, it could be any of them, right? Like, or are they going to just do their own little thing?
At this point, I feel like Team Cherry is going to like announce their own console that Silksong is like exclusive to. They're like, yeah, I know we said it's coming out on Game Pass. We know we showed footage on the Switch. Fuck that. We're making a Silksong device that you have to buy in order to play it. Like, what the hell are they cooking over there, dude?
Dude, I mean, the game was supposed to come out in the early half of this year, and then they delayed it. That's why I was like, it could be a perfect time, because I feel like they wouldn't have said that if they weren't getting like kind of close. I don't know what's going on over there, but
I mean, it was shown in a treehouse in 2019 or whatever that was.
Yeah,
like
it's a long ass time ago, dude.
It looked pretty.
It looked great.
Ready, yeah, or like at least that section that they showed.
I feel like they probably overhauled it. I think they probably were like, this game just looks like more Hollow Knight. You know what I mean? Because it kind of did. It kind of just like looked like Hollow Knight with a different character. Like I bet when we see it again, it's gonna like look a lot different. It's gonna be graphically overhauled. I think there's gonna be just a lot going on. It seems like they probably like, because it was going to be DLC at first as well, right? So I think it's going to be like a Tears of the Kingdom sort of thing. Where
it's going to be huge.
The scope of this has completely changed.
It's just big.
Yeah.
Well, what about a first party closer or opener? Anybody want to guess? I mean,
Labo, but with plastic this time.
Oh, worse and worse.
I don't know. I mean, Virtual Boy, NSO.
It's really hard to. I can't think. Yeah, like what franchise could it be? Star Fox or something? I don't know. Like,
oh man,
no, it's. I put it on the notes. Oh, one of y'all read it in the field.
Oh, Mother 3. I think it's possible, but not likely, but possible.
I think it's possible. I don't know, David. What you're shaking your head? You don't think it's ever going to happen?
No, I could. I'm just not gonna fucking guess that anymore. I'm not. I'm like, it's like an unspoken thing that Mother 3 could show up at any time, but it probably won't. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I do think there were rumors about another Zelda thing coming before the end of the year. That's not Tears of the Kingdom DLC. And so I think Wind Waker, Twilight Princess is definitely something that could be. But it's as far as like what. We've been doing this podcast for like almost 5 years now. It's hard to like come up with. I feel like the only person that does great like out of nowhere fucking predictions is like Arlo. I don't know if you guys ever watch his like direct.
He's right.
Predictions.
Sometimes the Animal.
Yeah, because he goes for really, really specific shit that he's like
Nintendogs, but with dragons or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, and then Nintendo Drags comes out, and it's like, holy shit, Arlo, what the fuck? But like, it's just hard to come up with this kind of thing, I think like, and it's just. So you get burned by like loving these old franchises that like don't come back. Mm-hmm. And I think any new franchises and new IPs that Nintendo's working on, I think they're saving all that shit for Switch too. I think this is the time where we're going to see just a lot more ports. I think we're going to see a lot more of the stuff that has been rumored and they've been holding on to for whatever fucking reason.
So maybe
like
maybe the
This is
Peach
the jumping
game
ground.
is
Yeah.
like an opener or closer. You know what I mean? Since they showed
Yeah.
so little of it.
Maybe we get like a title for the Peach game, right? Like that would be great.
Yeah.
And like some indication on what the gameplay is like.
Yeah. Well, any other things before we move on from the main topic?
Do you want me to take a wild swing? The
Yeah.
wildest
Yes,
swing I could think
please.
of. The wildest swing is Electroplankton 2, the next music game from Nintendo.
Yes. Yes. I'll take that over Wii music too, or Nintendo Switch music.
We Fit. No, I got it right now. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Fitness boxing F-Zero with Captain Falcon. I would get
But
that.
it's a bounty hunting game.
Yeah, but
bounty hunting game.
and you catch bounties by punching them.
Yeah.
Yes,
By doing hooks and ducks and weaves.
dude. Get Nintendo on the horn. They're also listening, but
They listen to the show. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this discussion on the Super Mario Bros. Wonder Direct and September Direct speculation. We're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the games that we've been playing recently. I don't have a whole lot to report on what I've been playing this last week. I was traveling and crunching to get my demo and my finding a working laptop and that sort of thing. I went with my cousin and Bentley, and when we hang out, we play a lot of Smash. So we played some Smash late night on a couple of the nights that we were there. I did try a few demos of various games at San Japan, though I mostly stuck to my table because I felt like that was what I was there for. So I got to meet some developers and try out some of their projects. I honestly don't know a lot of the names of them, but I've got cards and stuff somewhere. And some of them were just kind of like in early stages and stuff too. So, and then I did squeeze in a few big run matches with my son online early one morning and then by myself late one night because I'm obsessed. So I did get to try out those Grizzco dualies a little bit. Pretty good Grizzco weapon. That big run stage really messed with my head, as some of them do. Because it's like you get used to a stage in Turf War, and then when it's in big run and there's tides and stuff, sometimes I'm like, I have no idea where I am right now. But it's just a great mix-up for one of my favorite modes in that game. So that's mostly been me, and then just playing my game in downtime. Like
I've been playing some of your game too, man.
Yeah,
I'm playing
same.
that demo. It's a ton of fun.
But yeah.
I did play a little bit of Monochrome Heights before you went off on your big adventure.
Yes, thank you to both of you actually for
Of
your
course.
feedback. And
yeah, of
honestly,
course, man.
real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jordan, but
No.
to bring this back to the same topic. But Jordan, you and I were talking about, hey, the only thing is it's a kind of a long demo. Well, 3 people did beat it.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool because it was like,
Was the demo just the four?
yeah,
first 4
it's
levels?
just the like they're not even really in the right order, but like it's to showcase a little bit of stuff. It was a sort of tutorial and then 3 levels, and they're hard, so it takes a while. But a lot of people stuck with it, so that's cool.
That's cool.
Anyway.
3 people finished it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was also, it's like a great demo also to showcase not outside of that setting, so it's a
Right.
multi-purpose demo. So, but yeah, anyway, after last week's discussion, I didn't quite finish Pikmin 4, but I have now 100%ed Pikmin 4. There's some doozies. That last battle was pretty tough, but I mean, I don't think this is technically a cheese, but it felt kind of like cheesing because I left and then came back with the like Pikmin that I needed to make the fight work.
Me
But
too.
You kind of have to.
Me too.
There's like no other way, like.
Well, yeah, that final case. I mean, again, we're doing spoilers now, but that's fine.
I didn't even think about it, but yeah, sorry. Anyway,
Like I said, listening to you guys say the spoilers just made me want to play it more. So
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
that being said, I really enjoyed that last fight. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, I finished the Sage Leaf trial or another section, and the part I had frustrations with last time, I realized I was doing one thing wrong, but I still only finished with like 20 seconds left. So it was just a very tough.
Yeah.
There's some tough sections of that game for sure towards the end, but it made it much more rewarding whenever I finished. Anyway, Pikmin 4, great game. Next, also in the vein of, we did a Metroidvania episode and I had been playing Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. So I went back to that to try to finish out a run. I'm kind of be committed to at least finishing a Miriam run. I'm depending how I feel, maybe try a Zangetsu run and then see what that's like. But I'm turning a little bit on the game. Once you get a little bit further in, there's some like weird difficulty spikes. But I mean, I can't really hold it against it because it is just like a Symphony of the Night, the next level. It is exactly what it would be. So,
Right.
but yeah, other than that, I've just been also been playing Vampire Survivors. Very addicting, a lot of fun. Don't know if I beat a boss of some significance. I don't know if that's the only one, the last one, or what. But about 20 hours into that game, and man, just having a blast. Like discovering all the different combinations you can do, and like how the different weapons interact with the different items, and just when there's so many numbers on your screen that you can't even see what your character, what's going on, something just unlocks in my brain. I'm like, it feels really good. The dopamine hit is massive. But yeah, but other than that, that's really it. I don't know. David, what about you?
Well, have you played that co-op yet, Vampire Survivors?
No, I really want to. I didn't really kind of like put it together until y'all were playing today.
Yeah, you could play up to 4 players, which is really cool. And I did some, obviously played some with Summer today when we met up, and then also played some with Rob recently as well. Both times really fun. I don't know that I love Vampire Survivors, but I like it a lot more in co-op. I think it's really fun that way. But yeah, I'll talk about some of the games I've been playing. Another game I played with Rob was Excitebike 64. You know, you guys kind of glossed over last episode, but man, dude, that is one of the best racers on the N64. That game, do not sleep on it. Like, it is so fucking cool. It is unlike any racer out there, really. Like, the way that you, like, control the bikes, it's not just, like, hold A and turn. You know, it's like, you really have to, like, decide when you accelerate. You got to like accelerate up the jumps, angle your bike coming down like at the end of jumps, and then also the kind of risk reward on like when you're going to use the boost without overheating. And it's also like, you know, sliding, angling your bike, getting it ready to go, and then boosting. It's like a whole, just like the weight and the pull of moving your dirt bike around is like, for the N64, it was like so realistic, you know, and it still holds up to this day. So if you're looking for a racing game that has a little bit of depth to it, and actually like the controls and the mechanics actually are not just the sort of normal arcadey shit that you get with a lot of even car racing games, like, man, Excitebike 64 is a really awesome game. And it has a soccer mode in it, which was what inspired Rocket League, right? So it's kind of got early proto Rocket League, super fun to play multiplayer. Awesome game. I love that game so much. I'm realizing now that I need to go back and play it, but I'm in the middle of like 10 games at the moment, so I'm going to move on. Finally, I want to say this. A game that I started when I was like a wee little child back in the year of our Lord 1997 was the sequel to Myst, Riven. And I kind of like randomly picked it up over the last 2 weeks and just like got really committed to actually finally beating it. I never beat it when I was a kid. It was really, really difficult for me to like wrap my head around some of the more complex puzzles. But man, oh man, after having played it through, I really truly think that Riven might be one of the like best games ever made. Like, it is such a fucking masterpiece. It holds up incredibly well. Like the graphics still, like in 1997 they looked photorealistic. They pretty much still do. I mean, obviously they're super compressed and they've got it's like the still things that you walk through like in Myst. But if you look at like Myst compared to Riven, like Riven is just on like another level, you know. It's like they really put so much work into making the world feel cohesive and lived in, and like the sense of isolation in it is like really, I've never really felt anything like that in a game before, where in Myst you're walking around and you know you're the only person on any of these islands, you know, so you feel like lonely and alone. But in Riven, like the islands that you're on like are populated by other people. They just don't want to fucking be around you. They like are hidden, you know? And so it's like a totally different feeling of isolation, right? It's like you just feel like a stranger in another world where you're not meant to be there, right? And so doing this and knowing that at any point you could see someone, but knowing that they usually don't pop up kind of gives you this like sense of like anxiety or puts you on edge as you're playing in a really, really cool way. I really recommend this. Obviously it's an old ass game, so I'm not going to go on too much longer about this, but I'm very proud of the fact that I finally beat this game. It's hard as fuck, but it's very satisfying to finally beat. What a great ending. I'll go through some of the rest of these really quickly. I picked up Mr. Driller Drill Land. That's one that I've been looking at for a long time. I love Mr. Driller. And so I've been playing some of that today in particular. There's a great eShop sale happening right now. I think this is like $4.50 at the moment. It's usually like a $30 game. It's a remaster of a GameCube game. Definitely recommend that one. I picked up a game on my Steam Deck called, what is it called? It's called Curse Crackers For Whom the Bell Toils, and Bell is spelled like the name Bell. This is a really interesting, like GBC style platformer. The graphics are like done. It looks like a widescreen Game Boy Color game, right? And the soundtrack is like that too. It kind of has all the limitations of something like that, but it's really, really fast-paced and inventive platforming. If Patrick, I was playing this today, and I was like, I think you would really like this game quite a bit. It's very interesting. Just the way that you move is awesome. Really cool characters, and like the story seems really interesting as well. I just randomly saw someone post about it on Twitter, and it came out last year, and I picked it up. I'm saving a bunch of money right now on food, so I'm just kind of buying a bunch of games randomly because I'm not buying food, booze, or nicotine at the moment. So I've got new addictions that I'm trying to fall back on. So that one's really great. I'm looking forward to playing more of that. And then, in the calm before the storm, before I jump headfirst into Starfield, which I'm looking forward to, I've been playing a ton of Sea of Stars, which is our JRPG club game this month. And it's the fucking shit. I don't know if you're going to play this, Patrick. You said you were interested in joining for JRPG
I would like
club?
to, especially... Is it more like Chrono Trigger, or is it more like Golden Sun, or somewhere in between? Or it's
kind of a blend. It's like a blend of like Chrono Trigger, Golden Sun, Secret of Mana, Mario RPG. It's kind of like, but then also very much its own thing too. You know, like the battle mechanics, there's a lot going on in them, but never to where it feels overwhelming. Just enough to where there's like actual like choices you have to make instead of just like spamming attack or whatever, right? Like the way that they do the battles is like really, really fucking satisfying, and you can always kind of think your way through it, even if you're like underpowered, I think, right? And then in addition to that, the exploration feels very Golden Sun. The environments and the music and the vibe feels very Chrono Trigger. So it's kind of got a lot going on, and it's kind of takes the best of all of these games and mashes them into one kind of ultimate 16-bit JRPG, I think.
Can I ask one question? I know there's a demo, and you may not know the answer, but can you carry over, or is the demo like a random part of the game?
The demo is a bit into the game.
Okay.
So I would definitely just start at the beginning and just pick up the game. I mean, I think you'll really like it.
I think I will too.
Yeah, it's a cool game. I think I think some of the story hasn't quite resonated with me totally just yet. It feels a little cookie cutter at the moment, some of the plot, right? And some of the characters, I like some of the characters, and some of the characters, like including the two main characters, I'm like, I don't really give a shit about, so I'm really hoping that something kind of picks up in the story. But just from a gameplay and vibes perspective, ooh boy, I really like it a lot. The music's great, so I really recommend that as well. But yeah, so it's a little long-winded, but those are the games that I've been playing. I was off last week, so I had a lot to catch up on. If you're still listening, thank you very much, but that's what I've been doing.
No, that was great. That's going to do it then for this episode on the Super Mario Bros. Wonder Direct and September Direct speculation. Thanks to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX.
You can find me online at Bordan on Instagram, or just at me in the Discord, and I'll say hello.
Pretty much ever on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter. We are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. We got a website, switchheadz.com. And then we got a Facebook group. And excuse me, a Discord. I'm keeping that one in. And we'll have links to both of those in the description of this video or podcast, whether you're watching this on YouTube or on Spotify or Apple or wherever. We'll have links to those in there. Please join us on the Discord. We had a mini Discord meetup today, and it was so nice to see everybody there. We'd love to have a lot more of the listeners join the community. It's such a great crew, such a wonderful, non-toxic environment. We'd love to have you join. So join us over there. That's going to do it for this episode on a potential September Direct. Hopefully we get to do a direct reaction episode as well for a September Direct coming up soon. And the Mario Wonder presentation. Can't wait for that fucking game. We're going to be back next week with a great brand new episode, so don't touch that dial. But in the meantime, you guys know the drill. Stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Fucking play Excitebike 64, dude. Like, don't put it off. Like, just play it. Just trust me on this. You'll love it. Other than that, we love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.